So Heart Eyes is an absolutely brilliant romantic comedy slasher thriller movie that blends these two genres together in such a good way. And from the opening sequence of this movie, you really do know what's in store as it sets up this twisted tone in terms of a really romantic moment suddenly turning into a living nightmare. And there are some brilliant sequences as the movie progresses that does do this in terms of taking romantic moments and then turning them into a really dark one, but never at the same level as the brilliant opening sequence. So in some ways, it really does mirror Scream 1. And maybe that was intentional in terms of just starting the movie in such a shocking way and leaving it as just being one of those unbelievable opening sequences. And as awesome as Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding were in their lead roles, and this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, I just personally believe that there wasn't that much of a spark or romantic chemistry between the two of them, and I feel like they just worked better as friends, and so because of that, I just couldn't really get behind the romantic relationship between the pair. But I absolutely did love the first sequence where they first ever met, as I felt like that one was really, really funny. I wish that they did more with the work dynamic, as they could have built their relationship from a rivalry/jealousy point of view so much more, especially when they went to so much effort in terms of building that narrative. We never really got to see why Jay is such an advertising maverick. And in so many ways, you can see that Heart Eyes really is a Scream wannabe, especially with it being littered with pop culture references. This did become a little bit annoying and a little bit repetitive as the movie was progressing, but I did love some of them, especially the Hobbs and Shaw reference. And there were some really good one-liners in this movie as well. For example, Olivia Holt's character saying, "We led him to an all-you-can-kill murder buffet," and I thought the ending was really, really good, especially how it subverted the killer's motivation. And I feel like because of this, this movie was able to stand apart from Valentine, which I feel like you can immediately compare Heart Eyes to, but that movie had a bit of a scorned, tragic character that just detested the concept of Valentine's and was murdering people as a result of this. I honestly think Valentine's is incredibly underrated on multiple different levels. Firstly, I feel like that killer's motivation was so good, and also the fact that you can kind of have two different endings with this movie, depending on who you feel the real killer is. And also that Cupid's mask was really, really terrifying, and I think it was really inventive with how it killed off certain characters. And very similarly to this movie, as well as to Scream, the opening sequence of that movie was really, really shocking as well. Now, speaking of sequences, of course, all slasher movies do have to do something a little bit different, as there have been so many slasher films, and as a result, so many slasher sequences. Let's go through all of the main ones now. So I feel like that romantic date, even though I feel like there wasn't much chemistry, I think setting up everything that was to then follow in this movie was really, really good, especially having that fatal kiss. This then led into the apartment sequence. I thought that was really, really good. I feel like it was a little bit of an homage to what could have happened if Sarah Michelle Gellar's Cece character did have someone with her. The merry-go-round sequence and the nighttime park sequence I thought were really, really brilliant as well, especially as Mason Gooding's character was not in the picture for the majority of it. And also, I think what they did in the police station was so inventive. And speaking of Jay, the fact that he was chained up when the killer comes face to face with him, I thought was so shocking. And the fact that this killer is able to do crazy things with the detectives in this film. The drive-in theater was really, really good. I didn't think it was that realistic in terms of these two people wanting to go back to properly stop him. And then the penultimate sequence with the airport I thought was absolutely extraordinary. And then when you think everything's resolved, it does a bit of a Scream 4 with having another final sequence where things really do take a bit of a sinister turn. And very similar to season 3 of the Scream TV series, I really loved that they were showing the motivation and how each one of the kills were taking place across this movie. I absolutely loved Monica and Crystal Kane. I feel like even though they were in support roles, they were absolutely extraordinary. It really does show that there's no real small parts, only small actors, as these two made the most of their roles and screen time. And I absolutely love the fact that this movie even has its own post-credit scene. And on that point, I really do feel like they can easily create a sequel and build it into a bigger franchise, as this killer, very similarly to Ghostface, who has got heart eyes, is just so potentially brilliant. So I honestly think Heart Eyes is pretty underrated and could become a bit of a cult hit. So while this movie isn't perfect, I feel like it does do a lot of things in a decent way. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a big solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Heart Eyes? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.